They always say your gut knows. That intuition is a woman's gift. I used to roll my eyes at that until the night my husband said he was at a friend's house, and my chest tightened like a vice. I didn't know why, but something felt wrong. He wasn't late. He wasn't drunk. He wasn't even avoiding my calls. But something about the way he said it, so casual, so easy, like he'd rehearsed it, set off every alarm in my soul. My name is Dana Marks. I'm 38. I work full-time as a veterinary nurse. I pack school lunches, clip coupons, manage our mortgage, and until recently I thought I was happily married. We'd been together for 9 years. I gave him everything, my loyalty, my heart, my youth. I didn't demand much. I believed in love the way some people believe in God, without evidence, with total devotion. That night, he kissed me on the cheek before heading out. "It's just poker night, babe. Greg's place," he said. "Don't wait up." I didn't plan to. I had work early, but I couldn't sleep. By 10 p.m., I was lying in bed, staring at the ceiling, the fan whirring above me like a metronome counting down to some inevitable disaster. I scrolled through my phone out of habit, then curiosity, then obsession. I checked Greg's social media. Nothing new. Then I checked mine, and that's when it began. A photo, posted by someone I didn't know, a restaurant downtown. The caption read, "Always a good time with you, late vibes, your secret place." It wouldn't have meant anything to me, except the man's hand holding the wine glass had the same braided leather bracelet I gave my husband last Christmas. The same scar near the knuckle. The same damn wedding band. My heart stopped. I clicked the profile. It was private. But the name, Mara Life In Style, was unfamiliar. And her bio? Taken with a rose emoji. He wasn't with Greg. He was with her. I got out of bed like something had shocked me out of paralysis. I stood there, barefoot in my nightgown, suddenly shivering. I'd suspected before, the missed calls, the excuses. The gym bag that stayed in his trunk. But I had always shut the thought down. I had told myself I was being paranoid. I had trusted him. And now, that trust felt like a joke. I didn't cry. Not yet. I just stood there. My reflection in the dark window stared back at me like a stranger. How long had I been living in someone else's story? One where I was just the background character, the caretaker, the loyal fool. I opened our closet and stared at his side. His suits, his cologne, the little box where he kept loose change and cufflinks. I thought of every lunch I packed, every load of laundry I folded, every apology I made when he got too quiet, and I thought it was my fault. And for the first time in my life, I didn't feel love. I felt rage. Hot. Bitter. Cleansing. This wasn't going to be some crying in the shower story. No. I deserved answers, and if I couldn't get the truth from his mouth, I'd find it myself. But one thing was already clear. He didn't know I was watching. He didn't know I had just found the first crack in his carefully constructed lie. And what he really didn't know? I wasn't the same woman who used to believe every word he said. Not anymore. The next morning, I made coffee like I always did. I set out 2 mugs. I even toasted the same sourdough bread he liked. Habit, I guess. Muscle memory. He walked in around 7:45 a.m., hair slightly damp from a quick shower. Probably not at Greg's. Probably hers. "Morning," he said casually. "Didn't think I'd be home this early, huh?" He kissed the top of my head. I felt my stomach twist. I smiled anyway. "Have fun?" I asked. "Yeah," he yawned. "Same old. Greg's place. Beers, cards, trash talk, you know." I nodded and handed him his coffee. And that was the moment I knew I was done playing dumb. He didn't stutter. He didn't hesitate. He lied, like it was second nature, as easy as breathing. My husband Jason wasn't just betraying me. He had perfected it. And for how long? I stared at him while he scrolled his phone. His thumbs moved fast, probably texting her, maybe deleting things. I wondered how many times he'd sat across from me, looking just like this, pretending everything was fine while carrying on with someone else. Later that day, I called Greg. We weren't close. He was Jason's friend, not mine. But I was polite. Casual. Hey, Greg, I said. Jason said you guys had a long night. Poker run late? There was a pause. No poker last night, he said. I had to cancel. My daughter had the flu. I smiled, even though my hands were shaking. Right, of course. Poor thing. Hope she's okay. He muttered something back. I hung up. And just like that, the dam broke. I didn't confront Jason right away. No, because now I needed more. I couldn't just walk in with feelings. I needed facts, dates, names, receipts. That night, after he fell asleep, I took his phone. It was the first time in 9 years I'd ever violated his privacy. He trusted me too much. His passcode? Still, my birthday. That alone made me want to laugh and scream at the same time. And once I was in, I realized he hadn't even tried to hide it. There were messages from her. Mara, photos, dinner reservations, hotel check-ins. One was on our anniversary. He had told me he was volunteering at a late fundraiser that night. I remembered crying alone in the tub when he canceled our dinner last minute. He'd sent her flowers that day, and a note. You make me feel alive again. Alive. That word echoed in my head. What was I to him then? A coffin? The betrayal didn't just sting. It infected everything. Every laugh we shared, every private joke. The time he stayed up with me during my appendectomy. The time he held my hand when my father died. All of it suddenly felt like theater. Like a performance he had rehearsed, until someone better came along to give him new lines. The next day, I called out of work. I told my boss I had the stomach flu, which wasn't far from the truth. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep, but now I had a mission. I went through our shared bank account. A few restaurant charges I didn't recognize, Lyft rides to unfamiliar addresses, a second email account that showed up in an old notification, Jason New Start 01 something.com. It was all there, just scattered, hidden in plain sight. And the more I found, the more disgusted I felt. But underneath the disgust was something new. Control. I was piecing it all together, quietly, efficiently. While he continued living in his bubble, thinking I was still the woman who'd believe anything he said. Let him lie. Let him keep playing pretend. Because what he didn't know, what he'd never even imagined, was that I wasn't planning to cry. I was planning to expose. At first I told myself it was just about the betrayal, the infidelity, the lies. That would have been enough to rip me apart. But as I pulled back the layers, I realized this went far deeper than cheating. This wasn't just about love, it was about power. Jason had always made more money than me. He worked in real estate and called himself a closer. I thought it was just salesman talk. I didn't know how much of his job had bled into our marriage. The smooth lies, the way he could flip a story, sell me guilt, sell me doubt. And I'd been buying it for years. When I went on maternity leave 3 years ago, he suggested I let him handle the finances. Said it would be easier, cleaner. One less thing for you to stress about, he told me, rubbing my shoulder. With that practiced smile. I agreed. I didn't know I was signing away everything. We never had a joint credit card. I was always listed as the authorized user. The house was bought in his name, just for loan purposes, he'd said. We split the bills. Well, I paid for groceries, school supplies, small stuff. He paid the mortgage. At least, that's what I thought. But when I logged into our mortgage provider's website that week, curious to see if I could find a financial paper trail, I discovered something else entirely. The account had been paid from a different checking account, not the one I knew about, a private one with her listed as a co-signer. I stared at the screen in disbelief. Mara W., that's what it said. On our mortgage account. It was more than an affair. It was a replacement. He hadn't just stepped out on me. He had been slowly shifting everything into her name. Real estate, credit cards, even our emergency savings had been moved. That $14,000 I thought we had in the bank, gone. He was building a life with her using the life I had built with him. And I had no idea. I sat at the kitchen table that night, holding our son's school permission slip. I had to sign it for a field trip. To the zoo. He was 7. He still believed his dad was Superman. And as I looked at the slip, My hand started shaking. This wasn't just about me anymore. If I walked away quietly, Jason would walk away with the house, the accounts, the narrative. He'd tell people I let the marriage fall apart, that I was cold, that he had no choice, and he'd get away with it. He was already trying to erase me. And what would I have left? A duffel bag, a handful of paychecks, and a son who would grow up thinking his mother had no backbone. No. He picked the wrong woman. Because I'd fought too hard for this family. I'd stayed up nursing fevers, held my son's hand through surgeries, skipped vacations, took on double shifts when Jason's sales were slow. I carried this marriage while he plotted his escape. And now? Now I was going to make sure everyone knew the truth. He didn't get to walk away clean. He didn't get to rewrite history. And he certainly didn't get to rebuild a new life on the ashes of the one he destroyed, without paying for what he'd done. That was the moment something changed in me. I wasn't Dana the wife anymore. I wasn't Dana the silent partner. I was Dana the storm. And I was coming for every lie, every hidden transaction, every dirty little secret he thought he could bury. I was going to dig it all up, and I was going to bury him in it. With the facts, with the proof, with a voice I hadn't used in years, my own. I didn't explode. I didn't scream. I didn't throw things or beg him to tell me why. That's what Jason would have expected. Tears, chaos, heartbreak. But that wasn't my plan. That would have made me look emotional, irrational, weak. I knew the man I was dealing with. Jason thrived on control. He manipulated through calm smiles and carefully worded conversations. His greatest weapon wasn't yelling, it was dismissal. Acting like I was overreacting, making me second-guess what I saw, what I felt, what I knew. So I stayed quiet, and I studied him. I needed a plan that didn't just catch him in the lie. I wanted it to corner him, to make it impossible for him to slither out with one of his well-rehearsed speeches. The first thing I did was go back to that email, Jason Newstarts 01. I ran a password reset on every account I could think of, Airbnb, Uber, email, Amazon, PayPal. And guess what? Most of them were linked to that secondary email, and some of them, they had saved addresses, her address, their hotel history, gifts, a necklace ordered through a high-end boutique, not for me, never for me. The second step? I got legal advice. I wasn't about to let him ruin me financially. I booked a consultation with a divorce attorney, a woman named Sheila, who looked at me like I wasn't broken, just waiting to be rebuilt. She explained the basics, asked me questions I hadn't even considered. Was I listed on the deed? No. Do I have access to the full financials? Not exactly. Have I documented anything? Starting now. She told me to start gathering bank statements, tax records, any evidence of dissipation of marital assets, basically, money he'd spent on his affair that I could prove. Apparently, if you can show he used shared assets for an extramarital relationship, you can make him pay it back. That word, pay, sparked something in me. I'd been paying the price for his lies long enough, so I got to work. Every night, after Jason fell asleep, I documented everything. I created folders, labeled with dates and names. I screen-captured texts, tracked his movements through receipts, compared timestamps. I even printed out a copy of the mortgage co-signing activity from the website, just in case he tried to delete it. He didn't know it, but he was building my case for me. But here's where the plan turned personal. I didn't want to just win in court. I wanted accountability. I wanted him to see that I had outsmarted him. That the woman he thought he could play had been playing him the whole time. So I planned the confrontation. A setup. One night, I told him I had a surprise dinner reservation, just the two of us, a fancy steakhouse uptown. Let's reconnect, I said. Let's get back to us. His eyes lit up with that smug little grin I'd grown to despise. See, he said, I knew we just needed time. He didn't realize his time had run out. I invited one more guest to that dinner. Mara. Through a burner email, I messaged her. Jason has been lying to both of us. If you want to know the truth, meet me at 7:30 p.m. at this restaurant. No drama, just facts. She didn't reply, But I saw the Reed receipt. I didn't care if she showed up honestly. Because the night wasn't about her. It was about me. About reclaiming my voice, my sanity, my strength. I dressed carefully that night, nothing too flashy, just a sleek black dress, simple earrings, my hair pulled back. I didn't want to look like a woman. Scorned. I wanted to look like a woman in control. As we drove to the restaurant, Jason was humming, smiling, probably thinking he had me back in his grasp. But I wasn't his anymore. I was something he hadn't planned for. The storm he thought he could ignore. And the storm was about to break. We walked into the restaurant like any other couple on a date. Jason reached for my hand. I let him, just for effect. Just to see how comfortable he could lie with his fingers wrapped around mine. The host led us to a corner booth, dimly lit, secluded. Perfect. Jason ordered the bottle of wine he always bragged about to his colleagues, like this dinner was a victory lap. Like he'd dodged a bullet. Like I was the fool who forgave him without ever knowing the truth. But I knew everything. I waited until the wine arrived, until the first sips were taken, until he leaned back and said, "This feels right again, doesn't it?" That's when I pulled out the manila envelope from my bag and placed it on the table. "What's that?" he asked, smiling, half curious, half confused. "Evidence," I said calmly. "Of everything." His expression didn't change immediately. Jason was good. Too good. He chuckled like I was bluffing. But when I opened the flap and slid out the printed screenshots, the bank transactions, the hotel receipts, the Uber, drop-offs to her address, the grin faded, slowly, like a mask slipping off. "I don't know what you think you've found," he said, reaching for a page. "I know what I've found," I replied. "I know about the other email account. I know about the co-signing. I know about the necklace, the anniversary dinner, the shared savings you drained." His hand froze midair. "I also know you listed Mara as your emergency contact at your brokerage firm, not me." That one hit hard. He blinked, swallowed. I was going to tell you," he began. "No, Jason," I said. "You were going to keep lying. You were going to start a new life behind my back and make me out to be the bitter, broken wife who couldn't move on." He leaned in, trying to regain control. Let's talk about this in private." I smiled. "We are in private for now." Right on cue, Mara walked in. She looked better than I expected. Tall, stylish, younger than me by at least 8 years. Her face went pale the second she saw Jason, and that's when I knew. She hadn't known about me either. He had been playing both of us. She approached slowly, like someone realizing they'd walked into a trap. I stood up, looked her right in the eye. "You didn't know," I said. "Did you?" She shook her head slowly, like a child caught in something they couldn't explain. "I'm Dana, Jason's wife, the woman whose house you've been sleeping in, the woman whose bank account helped fund your spa weekends." Jason stood up, flustered now. "This is out of line." "No," I said, my voice low and steady. "What's out of line is cheating, lying, hiding money. What's out of line is manipulating 2 women like we were disposable. And what's about to happen next?" I leaned closer. "That's the line you never thought I'd cross." I looked at Mara. "I'm not here to fight with you. You're not the enemy. But I'd get out now, while you still can." She didn't respond. She just turned and walked out, shaking. Jason slumped back into the booth. He looked like he'd aged 10 years in 5 minutes. "Dana, please, I made mistakes. I didn't know how to end it with you." I nodded. "You didn't. So I'll end it for you." I slid him the copy of the divorce papers I'd had my attorney draft. "You'll sign these. You'll return every cent you took from the joint account. And you will not fight me on the house, because I've got enough proof to make sure. You lose everything in court." He didn't speak. Not one word. He just stared at the pile of documents in front of him like it was his obituary. That night, I went home alone. I locked the door behind me, and I slept with both eyes closed for the first time in months. Because I wasn't afraid anymore. I was ready. And the final chapter was just beginning. The days that followed were a blur of movement, emotion, and strategy. Jason tried to call. He sent messages, emails, even a letter. At first he begged, then he threatened, then he pitied himself. It was all part of the same performance I'd seen for years, just different acts of the same tired play. I didn't respond. Not once. Because this time, my silence wasn't weakness, it was power. My lawyer filed the divorce papers that week. With all the evidence I had compiled, proof of infidelity, financial deception, the dissipation of marital assets, Sheila told me we had a strong case to retain the house and demand reimbursement. Jason had underestimated just how much I had learned in those quiet nights behind my laptop. His lawyer tried to push back, to negotiate, to discredit, but the facts were indisputable. Jason had broken the trust, violated the finances, tried to build a new life with another woman using the one I helped create. By the time we reached mediation, his posture was different. Gone was the confident man who could spin stories. He looked smaller, tired. The truth had chipped away at his charm, piece by piece. And I didn't gloat. I didn't throw the evidence in his face. I just sat across from him in that room, calm, collected, and done. "I never thought you'd go this far," he said during one of the final sessions. "No," I replied. "You never thought I'd wake up." In the end, I got the house. I got my share of the assets back, and I made sure Mara knew exactly who she was dealing with, because some lessons aren't just for you. They're for the next woman, too. But more than that, I got myself back. For years, I had slowly shrunk to fit the space Jason allowed me to occupy. I was the supportive wife, the gentle presence, the one who made excuses for his coldness and sacrifices for his comfort. I thought that was love. It wasn't. It was survival. And the difference between the two is everything. Now, I wake up in a house that's still mine, but feels different. Lighter, quieter. No lies hanging in the air. No doubt sitting beside me at the dinner table. My son knows something changed. I told him the truth, in pieces, in words he could understand. He asked me once, "Is Daddy bad?" I said, "No, but he made some very bad choices." And that's the truth. I don't need to paint Jason as a monster to justify what happened. He's a man who believed he could get away with it, who believed the woman standing by his side was too weak to fight back. He was wrong. Because betrayal doesn't always break you. Sometimes it rebuilds you, stronger, smarter, sharper. And when the reckoning comes, and it always comes, you won't have to raise your voice to be heard. You won't need revenge that screams. You'll just need the truth, and your voice, and the courage to walk away from the fire without looking back. Because when I finally confronted him, face to face, I wasn't looking for closure. I was the closure. I was the final chapter in a story he thought he could write alone. And now? Now I'm writing my own. No lies, no secrets, no more pretending. Just me. Finally whole. Finally free.